today. Now we got that full moon in Leo. Going into the aspects of relationships, whether it be the friendship, whether it be the friendship, whatever it may be, coming back into that space. But I wanted to start with a story, a thought. Welcome to another Friday Night Lectures. Got some, I was listening to a live ceremony, Wolf Moon ceremony. Music going on. But I was taking the thought to myself, I went to Walmart today. The little Walmart neighborhood market they got around here. Went to the Walmart neighborhood market. Went in and got my, they're the only place to sell the body wash I like, that I rock with. Went and got a couple other things. And they changed around some stuff. But I got to the front of the store. And there were no registers. They were all self-checkouts. Like, it was literally, you walk around the little kiosk and go. It was nothing but self-checkouts. And I remember, it's been a while since I've been on that side of town. They're building up apartments over there, like apartments and townhouses and stuff like that over there. And in my mind, I was sitting there, hop back in the car, and I was like, who are they building those townhouses for? Who are they building those apartments for? Who are they building this stuff for? Because the damn sure ain't for nobody in there, because in this Walmart neighborhood market, if you are familiar with Walmart, pretty sure everybody is, like, they literally got, they got the greeters standing up front. When I walked in there, it was like basically greeters were like stocking up little small knickknacks on the fucking shelves. And it made me think about going deeper into the aspects of the traditional and what's not traditional, and defining ourselves outside of the traditional will take us into the non-traditional. This brought me into this thought process of morality, which is traditionalism, and immorality it is just anything that we're not accustomed to. We're not accustomed to that such act or such way or whatever it is. But the truth is, the moral aspects would be more of the negative, as compared to you start doing your work, you're doing your inner work. Everything that you once thought was morally sound, or based on the traditions of how you came into your life, your indoctrinations, all of these aspects coming into that space, all of that shit would seem immoral to you. I was thinking about myself just in the space. I went to go get gas. Dropped 30 in the tank. Went and got gas. And I'm sitting here looking like there was a black girl. There was like a black girl behind the register. She was looking at me. And she was like, beads. She looked at this one, Hannah Musa. But like, something made me look down on her hand, and she had the trifecta on her hand. She had the trifecta tattoo on her hand, and she had she had a power sigil on her hand as well. So I was sitting there thinking, like, this isn't the traditional look or the traditional of what you would be used to if you were still in a certain space. The more and more I become in the sense of amorality, the more I come into this state of compassion, the more I come into that state of vulnerability, the more I become comfortable with the more I become comfortable in the aspects of being intimate with my power. That means defining my power, defining my day, programming my day, bringing myself into that true space of balance. The more I start to realize that I'm that ascended state, the enlightened state, that full transparency of that middle point and allowing yourself to ascend, to rise into that next step, then rise into these next levels is going to challenge everything. And then I think about looking at the protagonist, the antagonist, always looking for a side to be on, and then staying within these filters that we put into ourselves. Truth is, you're not, period. Everything that you once thought based on the predestination, you thought like in the aspects, I'm going to go to school, get through high school, go a little bit of college, get a little bit of schooling done. I'm going to get this job. I'm going to get this down to the relationships that you're in, that you're trying to maintain, down to the relationships. They go against your immortality. They go against your immortality. Because your immortality is the ability to suspend yourself outside of the emotion and understanding the duality of this space. Everything comes down into this space based on immoral or morality, the traditional or the non-traditional. They're both two parts of the same space. They're both two parts of the same space. It's just the corresponding to each side is based on the emotional impulse. Like an example, through using morality and immorality, you're given the false pretense of free will. You're given this false pretense of free will. Through morality and immorality, you're given a false sense of free will. You have a choice. You have a choice. Whatever choice you make is going to advance you into something, into this level. So I go back to those apartments that are across the street from a building that has nobody in there that will be able to afford those apartments. If I got emotional, I would sit there and look at those apartments and be like, that's fucked up, man. They building them apartments right there. Can't nobody afford that shit. But then I look at it as, what am I telling myself? This is when we have to start. This is the aspect. We don't get into this tonight about understanding understanding these spaces. And once you've been doing your work, going deep inside of yourself, doing that work, everything changes. You're not doing any of this shit to stay the fucking same. Period. You ain't doing none of this shit, right? You ain't doing none of this to stay the same. You're not doing any of this to stay within the same mentality that you were accustomed to. Everything's going to challenge your reality. Everything's challenging you. One of the simplest analogies I can use is I could never see myself administering $40 in crab legs and 7 grams of weed to get some pussy. I couldn't see myself do it. Now, can I imagine and create a scenario in my mind? Yeah, I can create a scenario in my mind. And the deeper I get into the scenario, I'm programming or looking at, this is the creator aspect, to defeat it. I'm creating in my mind the type of chick that would rock with some crab legs, $40 or $40 and whatever, some crab legs and some weed. I can define it. But why can't I define it? What have I seen that's an equivalence to this? This is how we challenge these thoughts and to redefine ourselves. I can look at it and be like, damn, that kind of, wow. Just because I understand it, just because we understand it doesn't mean we have to partake in it. And that's one of the major keys when it comes to when you're doing your internal work. Just because you understand it doesn't mean you have to partake of it. Just because you understand it, just because we have this thing when we think understanding means we have to partake in it or we have to do it. Because we're stuck in that narrative within our minds of, I have to experience it firsthand to observe it. How many times have you said to yourself, like, I've never experienced that, so I don't understand it? You're killing, that's from the mind of the ego. Remember, everything down here is to be experienced and or observed, or it's been experienced or it's been observed. But everything does not have to be firsthand experienced to be observed, and everything does not have to be observed to understand the experience. While you're doing your work, that's going to be one of the most important aspects in you doing your shadow work, in you doing any of your work, because that's what's going to help you move from being something validated outside of yourself, and being able to move into the aspects of the feeling, the knowing, the gnosis within that aspect. That's what's going to challenge you to be able to be like, oh, that's what that feels like. Because in the reality of it, you will get stuck within the moral aspect. It was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Why did it happen to me? I'm the only person that feels this pain. No one else gets me with this. I just want somebody to understand. But since you're still stuck within that partake mindset, guess what you're going to do naturally? Bond to somebody, because you did it based on the emotional aspect. Morality and immorality decline. They're the decline. They are an enduring process that is not meant to be endured emotionally. That's why whenever you come into a space, you can live out a memory over and over and over again, because you're still looking at it through the aspects of, it was something that was not based on me. And in that same mindset, you start to imitate or emulate through that same space. That's what this whole space is built on. This whole space is built on an imitation. When you study the Book of Thomas, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, it breaks down the aspects of adulter broth, Sophia being wisdom and knowledge, that great mother aspect being the wisdom and the knowledge, and then seeing something outside of itself that was monstrous. I'm going to give you a little fucking secret. Because then you see adulter broth created everything down in this space. That's you. That's synthesized to you. You're adult. You are that aspect of that. Acting out in the emotional aspects based on the expression. Right and wrong. Good and bad. It all goes right back to the same two pieces: traditional and untraditional, moral and immoral. But understanding how both of these things correspond, they need each other They need each other to keep this space and keep that space in keep this space in point. I'm gonna give you. I have an example. For my mother to stay in her, for me to do what I was doing, knowing I was doing dirt, I had to have the excuse that my mother couldn't defend herself, or my mother needed money, my family needed certain things. That was my driving aspect in me being me dealing, me being the dealer, me dealing, me fighting, me doing everything that I did. It had one key aspect that I would always link myself back to, is like, I'm doing it so my mom and my sisters and my brothers don't have to go through it. But anybody else that never experienced it or didn't observe that aspect would think I was doing some of the most immoral shit on the fucking planet. But I was doing it based on survival. So what is immorality? What's really immoral? You either are staying in the moral traditions of how you survive, or you're challenging the very traditions of how you survived to sustain and become self-sufficient. Being independent has become a part of morality. Being independent is part of morality. Being a strong whatever it is, strong whatever who's or what's it, is part of morality. Being pro-black is part of morality. Bucking against religion is part of the morality, your morale. So now religion is now immoral. Religion is now immoral. It becomes immoral. But now it's on this side. So now your new moral compass is everything against religion. So why haven't you gone anywhere? Where's your enlightenment? Why haven't you awakened? You've been talking about awakening your people for motherfucking decades. Why haven't you awakened your people yet? Why haven't they awakened? Truth is, that's not for them. You'll fight until you 50, 60 years old, holding into these movements and based on the traditions. Family, 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 family. Because you ain't done that internal work. You still defining using the old definitions as your foundation, the old intellectual aspects as your foundation. And then you sit there in that space and you're like, nah, man, because if I get on, my whole family get on. My family ain't going no fucking where. My family ain't going nowhere. Someone to look and be like, oh my God, that's the fucking most fucked up shit that you can say, but it's the fucking truth. My family ain't going nowhere. I know. Because I've seen it already played out. I watch my pops, literally, I watch my pops come down here. He came down from Jersey. Now he was born in Philadelphia, raised in Jersey, raised in Florida, came down from Jersey, came down here. Met my mother's family. My mother came back after an 8-year stint, her 8 years in New York. Met my father. I've told that story before. I might tell it again. I've told that story before in previous lectures. And my pops literally Welcome, welcome. My pops literally tried to bring my mom's family into what would be the 21st century back in like 1984. 19 like in the 1980s. He was trying to bring them into the business world because all they ever did was they were used to a certain way of life, they were used to a certain set of traditions because it created their identity. Certain set of traditions that created their identity. Pops failed miserably. They stole, cut him short on his pay. So many things happened by him trying to do that. My pops still to this day carries that deeply rooted into the core of his fucking soul. Like he holds that on his heart. He holds that trauma and that aspect of that happening on his heart, along with everything else that's on his heart of trying to be accepted by his pops and trying to prove his people wrong, trying to help his people. Same shit. I sit there and I look at that. That's how I know it will be a repeat. That's an example of the repeat. Everything, that's the example of my repeat. I found myself trying to do it in this same sense. I found myself trying to do this same thing, and I ended up being in the same fucking position. I remember the first time I bought my mom a fucking house. I copped my mom a crib. Got my mom a nice house. Got my mom a nice house. I was paying the taxes. I was like, wait, mom. And if I knew what I knew now, I would have kept the house, but I didn't have the LLC mentality. We don't get deeper into that. Got my mom the house. I said, all you got to do is pay the taxes. My mom was convinced by her sisters, my aunts, to go take another mortgage out on the house. They wait another mortgage taken out on the house so she can have some extra money. I don't know which one of my aunts did it, but they did it dirty. My mom had some of the money. My mom like helped them out. They never paid her back the money and all this good shit. Long story short, she lost the house. My mom is now up the street renting a house. Back in her old mentality. It's not that she's back in the old mentality. It's that she never left the mentality. That's your key. This is going to be your key coming into this immoral compass of this transparency. It's not the fact that you cannot force or enforce change upon others. It's just that they have not left the mentality, the memories, the traumas, the same shit that you've been through. And when you get upset with them, mad at them that, yo, you should be doing this, this, and this, all you're doing is the converting process. As long as you are emotionally triggered, this is a major aspect and key in this. As long as you are still being emotionally driven to fall off of impulse, you will sit there and do the same exact thing in the name of the moral compass of religion within the tradition. I'm totally comfortable being a spiritualist, being an occultist, being in my awakened state, being married to myself, in my divine union, being in this balance with myself. I'm totally fucking balanced, at peace with my decisions that I've made up to this point. It took a long time for me to get to that point of vulnerability to this point. I posted a picture on my Facebook page. People hit me in my inbox like, nigga, I didn't even know that was you. It's two different fucking people. Because literally in that picture was like, I did an hour of intense shadow work and everything was on the surface. All the anger, everything was on the surface. I was carrying that spiritual weight I was carrying this weight on myself that was manifesting into my weight. I was like 250 pounds in that picture. I'm 180 pounds now. And I'm like, I'm getting back into that, my tone, the toneness of myself. I have a consistency to myself now in my space because I'm challenging myself outside of the traditional mindset. This is how people get stuck when you're constantly trying to convert others to your shit, what you're doing, you're not teaching them, you're trying to convert them, you're trying to do the same. You're doing the mission. I'm on a mission from the Most High. I'm on a mission from the Most High. I'm on a mission from whatever social club motherfuckers choose, and they try to convert people based on that. They're still within the aspects of religion. Because religion simply means to fucking bind to the fundamentals. That's what it fucking means. It means to bind to the fundamentals. So if I have the fundamentals or the intellectual property of said information, of my information, then, and I haven't applied it or used it or went deep within myself to use it, guess what I'm going to do with it? Now, the same way motherfuckers like, oh, I've been delivered and I've been saved. I've been delivered. I've been saved. It's the same. It's the same bellow. When we got into that last week, it's the same fucking bellow as a motherfucker sitting there saying that I'm conscious. You yell out you're fucking conscious. You sound just like the motherfucker talking about they're saved. Why? Because you haven't defined it. I'm far from fucking conscious now. I'm conscious, but I'm far from that title. I'm far from that definition. I'm far from that foundation. I'm far from that. I'm on a whole nother, I'm in a whole nother fucking space. As a god is supposed to be. As a titan, as a chaos being is supposed to be. I have no need for anything. I have no need for anything. But everything comes to me with ease. But that takes that internal work. The way that I approach things will be the way that you're approaching things now is going to seem immoral because it's outside of that traditional standpoint and trajectory point that motherfucker other people do it. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in the pageantry and not do the fucking work. Do not get caught up in the pageantry and not do the work. Similar to what would be the pageantry? The moral of the traditional aspect. A traditional Friday night for normal people to try to enjoy their little bits of whatever humanity is left. To make it feel like everything's still the fucking same. You listening to this lecture. You listening to this lecture, coming into the lecture. Me giving this lecture. Being in this space at this point in time. This is normal. This is the visible. This is our world. These are our worlds coming together. Multiple aspects of the universe coming together. Hey. Challenging that compass in code. Challenging that compass in code of the immoral, what we say is immoral versus the moral. We'll use morality when it benefits us. We'll use the term immorality when it benefits us. Give you an example. Motherfuckers, like I was just on my Instagram earlier, and apparently T.I. and Tiny are getting allegations of trafficking women and children or some shit, whatever. I can guarantee by tomorrow and throughout the week, there's gonna be like, yeah, these celebrity niggas is sick. Motherfuckers out here molesting. They doing this immoral shit. They done signed up with that white man. They gonna use it. They're gonna use that as their platform to keep pushing that same convert to being conscious, convert to this religion of consciousness, this religion of consciousness. When I'm looking at it as you only look at it when it benefits you. You only allow that to be in your space when it benefits you. But meanwhile, the internal work, the shadow work, the trauma is what created that in the first place. You are in the higher state. You you can't connect to it. When you're in your higher state, you're understanding like, damn, maybe that keeps happening or I keep getting triggered by that. You'll get upset at a pedophile, Joe Biden, don't give a fuck. Pedophiles and all this shit. But in your direct aspect of yourself, in your neighborhood, in families that you know, events that have happened, if it didn't happen to you, it happened to a cousin, it happened to somebody that you know, suffer from actual molestation. But no one dares point the finger or speaks on that aspect of that individual in the family, in the community of that aspect, being that person. Don't no one talk about Uncle Ricky, Brother John, Aunt Aunt Gladys. Don't no one talk about them. But we're so quick to project our anger and our emotion from that traumatic event out into the fucking ether, out into the world. And then use that to connect. Like, see, that's that immoral shit. That's where that shit came from. It came from them. It's their fault. Nigga, my guy, my sis, if you're the fucking creator, you're the creator of all things. You're the essence of all things. Accept your fucking responsibility. Take away the emotional aspect and accept your fucking responsibility. If you're at that level in that space where you're an activist in that space, then you stop externalizing it so you can feel like you feel good at the end of the day and start internalizing it and actually make yourself into the evolution of the becoming better. Bring it to the fucking surface. That's the only way it's not going to stop, because it's needed in this space. That experience, that observation is needed in this space. It's up to you to define the experience, define the observation, and understand it to take yourself into that, taking yourself into that heat, to take yourself to go further in yourself. Not look at it as, see, this world fucked up. If they weren't here, we can go back. There's no going fucking back. The opening story I told about the motherfucking Walmart neighborhood market joint having like all fucking self-checkouts. Walmart's got more self-checkouts every fucking day. There's no going back to what the fuck you thought there was. I'm ecstatic that Walmart is going into fucking more self-checkouts, because I'm looking at purchasing more stock in Walmart. Someone will look at me and be like, How can you invest in a company that takes away the humanity? Nigga, because I ain't fucking human. That's how I can do it. How can you sit there and invest in guns, in bullets, in ammunition, and the supplies for guns and bullets and all this technology? Let me think. Preserving legacy, passing down wealth, breaking curses of generational wealth, breaking the moral systems that are in place that keep playing out over and over and over fucking again. That's how I can fucking do it. Challenging the very tradition. There is no more of this. Kid's going to go to college and become a doctor, become a lawyer. The way that we were raised in that aspect, the life our parents raised us on was an imitation of how they were raised. So if we're raising the children in this space based on the imitation, because you're not teaching them, it's based on imitation, because it's based on fear, the hope in the fear narratives, then wouldn't you be doing the same thing? My parents got me ready for a world that doesn't fucking exist. My parents got me ready for a world that does not fucking exist. They said, go to school, go to college, woo. I went to school, went to college, went to jail, went to prison. It happened. It never happened to me. I'm good. I was in Fed camp, whole different fucking system than the traditional prison. With a whole fucking master's degree in psychology and a master's degree in business, I still spent 16 years, about 15 to 16 years, working in fucking restaurants. Because I was in survival. Didn't have the money to further it at that point in time. I was doing it based on imitating the hope that my parents had, that their parents had. I was just imitating the hope. If I knew now what I knew now, then always becomes the narrative. If I knew now back then I would change everything. No, you wouldn't. That's the same thought process of saying, it goes into the same thought process. You sitting there saying like, okay. Goes into that same thought process like, man, I couldn't have been no slave, man. They wouldn't have done that shit to me. How you know? You got to be real with your fucking self. It's like me sitting there going through watching fights happen and people getting beat up. And be like, yo, man, that shit wouldn't have happened to me. How you know? How you know that wouldn't happen to you? If you were in that person's position, it's like literally like watching a fucking movie. And we watch shit on TV all the fucking time. And we look at it like, that never could be me. That won't be me because I would do this, this, and this. You would follow the fucking script because that's what you've been doing any fucking way. This cycle, this is the end of cycles. The age of Aquarius, the age of the knowing, is the age of acknowledging cycles. The age of Aquarius, that age of Aquarius energy, that coming into this space is an aspect of acknowledging and ending cycles. This space that you in now is based on ending cycles, acknowledging the cycle, acknowledging what the fuck it is. You have no shit is not going back to what the fuck it was. I don't even remember. Like, I'm thinking about it in my mind right now, and I'm like, I really look back at like when I started changing things. Why could I so easily go back into like the old narrative of myself or the old aspects of myself? And because I changed the external, I didn't change the internal. I didn't challenge the internal works. I think about conversations I have now on a normal basis, and they're different, but exactly the fucking same. I think about the conversations that I have now, they're different, but they're exactly the fucking same. The same things that I said back then, I'm saying now, but it's different in the same fucking time. The same words in the same way that I'm speaking right, I speak now. So that didn't change. Still using that. What changed? My mentality changed. I'm in the more immoral standpoint. I take everything to the highest point. I allow the defaults to fall away. This becomes the fucking key. That's the major fucking key. I don't listen to the same shit anymore. I don't do the same things anymore. Not because I very well can. I can go like right now. I could say, man, fuck a Friday night election. Go to a fucking pool hall and go listen to motherfuckers talk about old war stories all fucking day. Why don't I do it? It's not part of me anymore. I've addressed that defined aspect that's within inside of me. This is the aspect that you get into that work. Addressing, bringing it to the surface, looking at it, because a lot of us are stuck in this aspect of the defining moments in our lives. And the reason that we keep going back into this reverting stage is because even if it's defined defined based on the traditional aspect. What is it to be a man? A man not supposed to show no emotion. A man ain't supposed to show emotion. A man ain't supposed to cry. A man ain't supposed to show vulnerability. A man ain't supposed to do this, this, and this. Okay. That shit don't fucking exist anymore. Everything that you do that you kick off, you have to create another thought form for another thought form is made for it to exist within their moral aspect. So your moral standards of being just in aspects of motherfuckers saying I'm a man's man in that space of not showing emotion, not taking care of ourselves, not self-care, self-love, these deeper aspects of ourselves, that healing process. Guess what's created in the moral correspondent? Them gay niggas that y'all don't like, the gay agenda. Here's the truth about the agendas. You are the orchestrator of every fucking agenda. You are the secret fucking government. It's all you. You're the shadow government. What's the shadow government? It sounds good to have the intellectual aspects of saying what the government is. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look it up again because I've had that so long that I actually got that note. Let me look at it. Something as simple as taking in information, but we don't take it to the depth. We only use it for the surface to maintain that reality. Do 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 do. So I just took the simple etymology of government, governing or ruling system by which is governed, especially a state. Old French government, control, direction, administration. Modern French government, to steer, be at the helm, govern, rule, command, direct. Let's take something simple as that. Then someone else will break it down and be like, yeah, so what they doing is they governing us to keeping us locked. No, nigga. So when I think about the aspects of me being in my sovereign state, that means I govern my emotions. I have control and authority. I take the helm of my emotions. Trying to take it down this false sense of deepness to the aspects of the shadow government. When I think about shadow government, the only thing that I think about is my shadow self governing my emotions. Shit that I have not dealt with. Same way when I think about the word demon, Damien, entity, intelligence, magic, any of those words. It's time to start taking these words into this aspect of trying to keep yourself in the space that you're in. Stop taking information based on trying to keep yourself at where the fuck you at. Trying to maintain your space. Oh, I got my stimulus check, but now next year, are you going to get a stimulus check? Mm-hmm. Don't really give a fuck. What are you going to do with it? What are you doing now in this point? What are you doing in that now moment? Or are you using the old aspects of yourself to govern you? Bring you into the space that you in. Keep you living the way the fuck you living. Moving the way you fucking moving. Man, they're against us. And the white man is against us. And they're going to stop us from ever achieving and taking our planet back. Why the fuck do you want the Earth planet? Why do you want the prison? This shit is over with. You want to go back to night? You want to go back to 1984, 1982, these older aspects of yourself? What the fuck is that going to do for you? You'll feel good for a little period in time, but how does that make you better? Instead of studying and understanding to take yourself to the next level, actually taking ownership in yourself. This is why people are afraid and become in fear of that aspect, because they're still moving in that narrative of fear. So they imitate or emulate, and you're stuck in a state of regurgitation. I'll use another example. I remember the first time I told my mother I was dealing. I remember I told my mother I was dealing. I told my mother I was gang affiliated. I remember it was one time that it happened. Me and my brother was walking from the store. Do 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 do. It's like 9. It's like 8:30. It's like Friday. So the next day Saturday, so we ain't got to worry about going to school. So we decided to walk to the store. There's a gas station. There was like a store up the street from us. So we walk up to the store. We end up getting robbed. These niggas run around neighborhoods robbing people. Got back to the house. Emotional as fuck. I'm emotional as fuck, crying and shit. All of us crying. I tell my mom what happened. Pops pull up. Tell him what happened. My mom tell my pops what happened, all this shit. And I don't know what the fuck led me to tell my mom. I was like, it's all right. I picked up my cell phone. My mom didn't know. My mom didn't know I had a cell phone. My mom didn't know I had a pager. My mom didn't know I had a pager, Had a time port. She didn't know I had none of this shit. Pull out my cell phone, make a phone call, pull out my time port, look for some numbers, make some calls. My mom like, where you get all this shit from? In that impulse, I told my mom was like, Mom, I've been selling weed for like fucking since I've been back, like since the summertime. I've been doing this since the summertime. Everything came out. My mom looked at me, was like, just looked at me. It was like, I got this. This shit gonna get handled. We leave. I call up my man, call up my people, call up my homies. They come get me. We go. We going. Got all my shit back and some other stuff. My mother never looked at me the same. My mother never reacted to me the same. My mother never looked at me the same. My mother never reacted to me the same. I remember I sat my mother down. I was like, I'm doing this for I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. I remember saying this to my mother. I pulled this out during a shadow work meditation for myself. I remember telling my mother over and over again, I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this for you. You're always complaining about money. I got to do something. My job only paid me $750. And why didn't you stay with my father? All of these emotions started pouring out into that space. First time I actually had that conversation with my mother, all of these emotions came out into that space, challenging the very traditional aspect of not showing my emotion. And I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, tears coming to my eyes, having this whole conversation with my mother. And I'm sitting there in that space and I'm like, yo, why am I having this conversation with my mother right now? My mother looked at me, and for like the next 2.5 months, my mother was trying to get me to come to church. I look at that moment now, and I realized my mom was trying to take me back to the assimilation. She was trying to take me back to the programming. When you're coming into your space, one of the things that a lot of people have, the thing that they fight with is the family aspect. That morality of the family aspect, right and wrong, trying to remain in that space. The longer that you stay connected to this, the longer that you're always going to go back into a state of assimilation. You're always going to try to reassimilate you back into that moral fabric. The only way that you can be reassimilated back into a moral fabric is one or two fucking ways. Is unconscious. You're unconscious about the aspects of it. That means you're not in understanding of it, or your subconscious is still linked to something within it. So when you go into that space, that's why when you have that conversation with your moms, you had that conversation with your pops, you had that conversation with your sister, your brother, no matter what the fuck you say to them, they can't seem to, they don't, you feel like you have that feeling, oh my God, they don't seem to fucking get it. That's just a fucking lie. It's not a fucking lie. Everything's the fucking truth. There's no fucking lies. Everything's the fucking truth. Everything is seen based on the perception of that individual. I stopped a long time ago trying to convert people, or that conversion process of being like, yeah, Jesus ain't real. Stopped a long time ago trying to stop telling people that Jesus ain't real. Jesus was a creation by the white man. I stopped that shit a long time fucking ago. Fuck Jesus. I stopped that shit a long time ago. Why did I stop that? Because that mindset of me saying, like, if I'm saying Jesus isn't fucking real, and I have the intellectual information that tells me Jesus Christ, or the Christos energy, or the Kundalini energy, there's some simple shit. That's the rising of the Kundalini energy. So the rising of Jesus, the resurrection from the manger, and I have an understanding of this, and The reason that I'm still triggered with it is because I'm not comfortable with it in myself. I'm not confident with it in myself. You hear motherfuckers debating back and forth because they're not confident with the information in them fucking selves. There's no reason for me to tell somebody, fuck white Jesus. Jesus ain't real. Because I'm the fucking Christ. I'm the Christos energy. I'm the awakener. I've resurrected myself. So now I have an understanding and a compassion and confidence in understanding like, oh, the reason that they're looking for that outside of themselves is because they haven't learned about that inside of themselves. Something inside of them has not allowed them to take that information in deep enough. I can respect them for where they at because some people need that. Some people need that anchor. Who am I to stop them from keeping their anchor? That's how you form attachments. That's how you sustain the attachment. That's how you sustain that fucking attachment. You mad because you're fucking, that's not your, then is it really your friend? Or did they simply associate with you based on the trauma? This is when we come into defining this space that we're in and being really honest with ourselves. I thought about it the other day. Since I've really came into my space, really came into my position, really doing my works over the last 2 years, we'll just say the last 2 years to bring it into a context, I've noticed that I haven't received calls from the people I used to get calls from don't call me anymore. The people I used to affiliate myself with, I don't affiliate they just don't come around. It's not based on, oh, I just don't call them. I'm in a whole different fucking reality. I've defined my reality. Within my reality, everything's on the like mind based on connection to the aspect of wanting that growth, the true doing work, internal work in themselves. So my conversations now hit differently. That ownership mentality. So now, before when I would question it, even when you're questioning these things, like why my sister doesn't do this, why my brother doesn't do this, why my friend won't do this, that's your attachment to it. You're questioning it. Question yourself first. This is work. Question yourself. Why certain friends don't do certain things. Question yourself. Why your homegirl a hoe? Why your homeboy keep tricking? These is real aspects and real factors within your own space. Then you'll start seeing outside of you why everything else is a reflection of it. This is understanding a reflection of it. I stopped thinking about politics. I don't fuck with politics. Because all they're doing is pimping emotions. I was heavy into politics, looking at politics, and I was always around being triggered by politics because my uncle, at a point in time, my uncle was a fucking pimp. My own observation and my own experience into the interpretation within my space was like, my uncle was a pimp, so he was like politicking with emotions. So that's why I keep seeing all this shit with politics. The simple shit. It goes down to the most simple factor. It's your ego that's going to make you overthink it. It's your ego that's going to make you overthink it, make it seem deeper than it is, make it think there's a conspiracy, get you stuck in agendas, get you stuck in all that bullshit. Instead, it's always deflecting you from doing your fucking work. That's what's stopping you from doing your fucking work. That's what has you in these fucking relationships and you're trying to make the relationship work instead of you're trying to make the relationship work instead of allowing it to do what it's supposed to do. Every person that you've met up to this point in time was the one. Every person you met up to this point was the one. Every relationship you were in, that motherfucker was the one. That was the one to teach you the lesson that you needed to learn in that space. Every badass relationship, every badass friendship, or friendship that you had where you thought they were your best friend and they betrayed you, they were the best friend for that position in your space. Every job that you've ever fucking had was supposed to teach you a fucking lesson. But you got stuck in the emotional aspect of, ooh, I got a job. Therefore, I can go get that predestination complex. Now I can go get this place. I can go get my car. I can go get this, this, and this. Every time that you did it, it triggered your independence or you being independent of something. So when it stopped, it was wrong. Man, they cut my hours. Man, they cut my hours. I had to quit that job because the bullshit that was going on there. The only reason the bullshit affected you is because there was still bullshit inside of you. The only way that you can be only way that one can be corrupted is if something is corrupt within them already. That means something is broken within you already. The only reason that a lot of motherfuckers connect to certain individuals is because something inside them is broken already. That's why you have that sense of feeling of, this is when you come into that feeling of the moral state. I got to help people because I remember there was a time for me when I was hurting and I was in a bad space and I never want no one to go through that again. So now you become the martyr in that complex and now you stuck sitting there trying to help everybody else out, not realizing that you jumping in front of their bus. You jumping in front of their karmic debt. You loaning your energy out for their karmic debt because you feel like it's morally okay. It's within my morals. I was always told to do this, this, and this. Fuck that shit. The reality to that space for me in that example is the moment that I stopped waiting, because I always had the ability to accept. Once I found that I was a manifested generator and started doing that work, everything else, it took off a whole nother layer of shit that I was like, nigga, I thought I was already done. Nope, more work for me. When I realized that I was a manifested generator, it brought me into the space of like, damn, everything I've been doing has made sense. What kept me from excelling or accelerating my space to take me to the next level? What stopped me? Oh shit. Emotion. My emotional imbalance. The emotional imbalance that fed on that eternal monologue of me wanting to be accepted, me wanting to be that needing and that longing, me wanting to be accepted, me wanting to be looked at as something more than just this or whatever it was, a fuck up or an accident. There was a point in time where I remember my mother called me an accident. She was like, you were an accident. I carried that scar. I carried that scar in the correspondence of everything I did based on purpose. I did it on purpose. It wasn't based on, there's a difference between doing things based on your purpose, your true purpose, your authentic purpose, and doing things on purpose. Doing things on purpose is doing things based on reaction. Remember, this is how that shit corresponds and goes back to itself. Doing things on purpose, doing things out of malice, doing things based on being petty, that's reaction. Doing things within your purpose is surrendering. That's the surrendering to the flow. Me doing things in my purpose is surrendering to the flow. This is where you find your consistency. This is where you find your discipline in working to getting into your purpose. When you're doing things on purpose, you're doing things based on reaction, you're doing things based on one side of the polarity or not. So now that line don't fucking exist. Because now you're sitting in that space like I was doing it for my family. You can do the most immoral shit based on your fucking family. Okay, and everything outside of tradition. Here's that aspect of the truth for yourself. Everything that you're doing right now, this is the point we don't get into this aspect of powers. The last reading I did yesterday, did an excellent build with the goddess. She came to me for a reading. And we were talking about the aspect of superpowers, and she gave a nice insight on it. I was like, yeah, it's all about defining your energy. It's all about defining your fucking energy. It's always been about defining your energy. Motherfuckers sitting out here right now talking about, yeah, I was trying to get my superpowers. I'm trying to get my superpowers on. Talking about, what is a superpower? A superpower is simply by the aspect of being a defined energy that you are mastering. A defined energy that you're mastering. All my powers is online. My psychic abilities, my ability to remote view. That's in the enlightened aspect. But that power is already within inside of yourself. Remote viewing is nothing but fucking foresight. So you have to learn foresight first. That means you got to break the pragmatic aspect of yourself. That myopathy. That's what when the polytheist can't even say the fucking word. The multiple gods, the multiple God aspect, the multiple principle aspect was in the same time in that split. On one side, it became monotheism, and on the other aspect, it stayed the immoral aspect of worshiping many gods. So it became immoral or untraditional to worship many gods or to instill in myself the multiple principles or instill in myself those multiple principles. Let me synthesize them into one principle outside of myself. When we think about the aspects of morality, it's things outside of myself. The sustaining morality is sustaining things outside of myself within the reflection of the traditional aspects of within myself. Immorality now becomes the aspect of the multiples or the multitudes or the multiple understandings of the principles outside of myself. So I have to embrace the immoral aspects or the dark aspects or the evil aspects and understand these to understand why I'm externalizing something outside of myself based on reaction. The imitation. So I can ascend into my immorality. That's the full compassion. That's the transparency. The middle point is the aspect of the transparency. Transparency is devoid of all emotion. It's devoid of all emotion based on reacting based on emotion. The impulse aspect. Whenever some motherfucker say, yo, man, you just got to dead your emotions. So to dead my emotion is if death to the aspect, if this aspect that you start thinking about, the aspect of death is the aspect of transitioning. So if someone tells me to dead my emotions, now I'm sitting there like, so transitions into the understanding of my emotions, everything shifts. Everything that you ever fucking thought shifts. Everything that you've ever been told makes sense because you're taking it outside of the aspects of the emotional aspect. So whether they knew it or not, your spirit has always been online, giving you the information that you needed. Your powers have always been online, doing exactly what they needed to do. You just needed to go through a certain experience to unlock that aspect within inside of yourself. I remember listening to motherfuckers saying, man, you got to dead your emotions. You got to dead your emotions. But no one could tell me what the fuck deading my emotions was, because it was based on the moral fundamental of like, you got to kill your emotions. You can't show emotion and all of that aspect, which it made sense. I'm not supposed to show my emotions. I'm not supposed to show my emotions, because if I have the ability for my emotions to be shown, that means they're allowed to be triggered. That means I have no authority over my emotions. So it made sense when the motherfucker said dead your emotions, even though they didn't understand. They didn't understand what they were saying to a deeper level. The application of it is, nigga, yes, I'm supposed to dead my emotions. I'm supposed to allow myself to transition into the understanding and the acknowledgement of my emotions. What triggers me in that space? All that shit changes. All that everything that you've had the table of contents this entire fucking time. You've had every aspect of information within you this entire time to help you transcend, to help you ascend. It's just changing from reaction to response. It's changing from, this is when you start understanding your design chart, and this is how you going to tap into your energy, defining your energy, defining your energy. That's the intimacy with your power. Me coming into the power of myself and defining my energy, I know exactly what the fuck I am. I know exactly what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. I know exactly how I'm supposed to be doing it. I have no qualms, no fights, no beefs with anybody for what the fuck they doing. They gonna do exactly what they supposed to fucking do. When you get emotional because I was trying, I be out here trying to get these shorties to try to get into this consciousness and drink some fucking wheatgrass with me and meditate, and they be looking at me like I'm fucking stupid. The intellectual aspect got niggas out here right now, and lady, I know y'all seen it. Good evening, good morning, or grand rising, beautiful aspect of a queen, da 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 da. This whole fucking line. Everything becomes a line based in the moral compassing to try to get something. You just keep changing the fucking characters. You just keep going to this emotional standpoint of trying to change the fucking characters out to try to go get something, to try to do the same exact fucking thing. Because you haven't done it for yourself yet. You haven't applied. I can tell that motherfuckers haven't applied this shit to themselves yet. Because they still out there trying to do the same thing. You still, motherfuckers that are stuck on polygamy. I need to have multiple wives because that's a part of our culture. And this ain't a part of us. But this ain't a part of us over here having multiple partners. But this over here is morally sound for me to have multiple wives. Give you something to really think about. If the aspect that have the multiple wives, let's take it outside of the aspects of what the fuck you've been taught. Multiple wives, polygamy, and all that shit, and sharing the energy. If that was at a point in time, back at a point in time where as we were coming to sleep, so they had multiple wives, concubines, and all of that shit. As it degenerates, it becomes slower and slower. And okay, I didn't agree. If you can have multiple wives, that means I can have multiple husbands. That's something you think about. I can have multiple husbands. Let me go have me another partner over here that you don't know about, because now I'm taking your information and I've applied it to my life to sustain what I wanted to do, to give myself something. And then it keeps going down and it keeps degenerating. And now you got niggas out here. Well, okay. This is the aspect of these experiences. A lot of people come into that space with themselves and are like, nah, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through that. I don't want this to fucking happen to me, because that's against my morality. It's against your fucking tradition, because you don't fucking stand it. It just becomes a space, and you just come into this space into your mind where you're like, nigga, that shit don't even make fucking sense anymore. I'm beyond that. That's where you're coming to. You're going beyond that train of thought. But it's going to take that internal aspect of that internal work. Really looking at yourself like, what filter am I using to sustain my reality? What personality am I using to sustain my reality based on the moral compassing? I got to be there for my sister. I got to be there for my brother. I got to be there for my moms. I got to be there for this person. Why? Because that's what a good friend does. No, that's not what a good friend does. Some of my best friends, were my worst fucking enemies in that space. The enemies of myself, or younger aspects of my shadow self, really would give me their stance of where they stood, why they didn't like me, why they didn't fuck with me. It was through those aspects of the motherfuckers that had hated me that I got some of the most valuable information. Yo, why don't you like me? Because you one of them smart niggas. You one of them smart, intelligent ass niggas. Like, I don't like that shit. Like, you smart, you intelligent. Like, you don't ever, like, I don't like that shit. It was always based on something emotional. But I was willing to have the conversation with them individuals. Even at that point in time, even before I became the occult psychologist, I was already doing the psychologist aspect. Because I would ask them the fucking question. Like, yo, what's wrong with me? I remember like the first time, and this takes you out of that. This is another fear part. This is the aspect of defining your power. Defining your power, that authority that's outside of power, is going to involve you stepping out of this rejection monologue. The fear of rejection. I've talked about this before. That fear of rejection aspect of bringing yourself into your space. This is the year of ending cycles, shooting your shots, ending cycles, shooting that shot, putting yourself in that position of what you deserve, and defining your energy and your value in what you desire. This is that time for that. But it's going to take you coming into that a moral compass of creating your own compass. How you move forward, how you set your stance, what you do. It's not going to be based on the validation of others, because you've had that reflection your entire time. That shorty that allows a nigga to give her $40, some fucking crab legs, take it to the Red Lobsters, get her some cheddar biscuits. She living. And you sitting there in your fucking house upset because she out every night living. But you sitting in your house looking at them, trying to make that validate you. Think about how you look in that aspect, stuck within your morality, stuck within traditionalism, because your underlying is traditionalism. I big up the chicks doing OnlyFans. I big up the chicks doing Pornhub amateur videos. I big up the niggas doing OnlyFans and Pornhub videos. I big up all of them motherfuckers. Because regardless of what it is, if I sit there and I shut it down or I say, nigga, that's stupid as fuck, why would you do that to yourself? I'm cutting myself away from transmuting energy. I'm learning more and more and more and more and more that I don't care what other motherfuckers do. I really don't give a fuck. I have compassion and understanding of why they're doing it because it's based upon the underlying survival, but I don't give a fuck what they're doing. Because that allows me to be open into my space and allow myself to get free energy. Because I'm not reacting to it based on an emotional tense. I'm not emotionally looking at it like I'm not gonna walk up to a chick and try to convert her to something by saying, my bad, queen, why you got that weave in your hair? That doesn't make sense to me. My Nubian goddess, why you wearing that white man hair in your head? The European has jaded your reality of your mind in your space and make you not love yourself. I'm using filters to explain some shit in filters. I'm using surface level shit to explain some shit. Because the last thing that I fucking remember is, wait, time out. We are the originals. European, even in the name of European, is the aspect of Europa or that first Moorish queen that ruled Europe when the Moors ruled Europe, when black people were in Europe. So if I'm saying the European, if I keep repeating the European, the white man type bullshit, that means any information regarding to we were in that space first is kicked out. And it's going to go into that same fucking narrative of thought process. They stole that from us. No, nigga, you gave it to them. You had no use for it. You have no use for anything down here. This is how we break attachment. We got to break this mindset of fucking attachment. 1 second. Because in the reality of that shit, I've like really been thinking about the aspects of that shit based on the attachment. A lot of the attachments that we keep ourselves tied into based on the lack of that self-entitlement, we get mad at self-entitlement. We want white people to admit this shit to ourselves and whatever. It's only based on so you can do the same thing. It's only so you can do the same thing. 90% of the fucking time, when you upset at somebody for doing some shit that you're feeling that is in that immoral compass, is because you don't have the confidence in yourself to even use that train of thought. And you're not willing to challenge yourself in the train of thought to take it to a higher point of self. So the shorty doing OnlyFans, she's selling pictures of her fucking titties on OnlyFans. What's really your reason for not liking her? She's making us all look bad. What? How's she making you all look bad? That should challenge you to be even more true to yourself. I don't have to. There's like a million fucking bogus ass fucking healers and motherfuckers out here speakers of that narrative. I don't allow them to stop me from doing what the fuck I do. I don't even let that into my space. Because the only way that it can come into my space or trigger me, because it means that something inside of me is corrupt, that corruption aspect, something inside of me is corrupt. Something in me is not willing to extend past a certain point. But until I acknowledge that in myself, till I accept that aspect in myself outside of this realm of emotion, I can't make the stance of where I'm at. I use the example of like right now, where I'm at right now, just in the aspect of business wise, building wise, doing what I do. Everything that I thought about in the beginning aspects in that continuum of where I'm at now, what I thought about how it was going to be, none of those images exist. None of those images exist. That means nothing in the way that it is now looks like how I thought or perceived it to look back then. And I'm totally fucking fine with that. I'm totally fucking fine with that. Because everything that I'm in right now is beyond even the thought process of what I could ever think I could create. I'm in a space right now where literally my manifestations and everything that I've thought about has come to fucking fruition. It's in that space. I can tell that I'm in the right path because in that buildup of my works, me just doing my work, my deja vus are becoming more and more intense. I'm looking at shit and I'm like, nigga, I've already did this. Literally, I did it. I'm seeing myself like I did that 8 hours ago. I did that 3 days ago. I did that 2 months ago. Conversations are like in such this quantum fucking space. And I know I'm in that space because it's like, nigga, like, it's happening right here as I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm literally, you cannot sit, no one can sit here and no one can come to me and be like, so how do you feel about the new president, the old president? How you feel about white people killing us and all of that shit? That shit doesn't come into my fucking radar. It doesn't hit me. It literally, like, I remember that little, like, if anybody remember that Lil Wayne conversation and that nigga said, nigga, I ain't never experienced racism. When I really think about it, I've never experienced racism ever. And what I thought was racism was just based on my emotions got involved. So I thought it was racism. But in reality, it wasn't fucking racism. They're doing their historical purpose. When you remove the emotional aspect and you really look at it outside of the emotional aspect, outside of the fucking ego, you start seeing the shit for what the fuck it really is. It's been doing what it's supposed to been doing the entire time. Your mother not being shit. She's been doing what she's been supposed to be doing the entire time. Your pops not being in your life. It's a program that's supposed to been there the entire time. But you got stuck on imitating or the envisioning or coveting thy neighbor's goods, coveting your friend that had their mother and father in their life, coveting that image that you saw on TV of Leave It to Fucking Beaver in your space. So you had a predestination complex based into that gray matter, based into that memory aspect, stuck in your head of like, that's what my life's supposed to look like. How can I get to it? That's not what your life's supposed to be like. That's you now moving on purpose, moving in reaction, instead of moving in the aspects of in your purpose. I'm moving in my purpose. Moving in my purpose has put me in a position to where I'm building differently. I'm moving differently. Everything made fucking sense. My pops was always in this space of like, I teach my kids business. And I remember my ego was like, nigga, you ain't never taught us shit about business. You ain't never taught us shit about business. But I remember my pops would always tell me this story every fucking time he get a chance. In one of his senile moments. And he say some shit like, I remember when I was living in Florida. He'd be like, I remember when I was living in Florida, and I remember I got some hot dogs, and I got some hot dogs, a cooler, one of them little itty bitty grills. And I remember standing on the fucking I remember sitting on the fucking beach, and motherfuckers would come up out of the water, and I sell them hot dogs, sell them Kool-Aid, and sit for like a penny and all this shit. And I'm sitting there looking like, the fuck are you telling me about a penny? And Kool-Aid don't cost a penny no more. Hot dogs ain't cheap no more. What he was telling me in his space, what was coming into my space that I could not realize because of trauma, was he was giving me the game of ownership. He was giving me the idea of creation. He was giving me the idea of creation, creating that path for yourself. But I couldn't see it through all the aspects of the traumas that my pop sat there and did some shit to me or said some shit to me that hurt my fucking feelings. That jaded my fucking, that gave my ego life. The antidote's within the fucking poison. The poison's within the fucking antidote. This is why I always say to the aspect, the first step, which is in the acknowledgement process, is acknowledging that you benefited from the trauma. Because if you did not benefit from the trauma, you would not be in the position that you in. If you did not benefit from the trauma, you wouldn't be in the position that you in to learn anything, to experience anything, to even fucking heal. So what's really immoral? What's really immoral about what happened to you? Because in the reality to the space of it, if the mind is all and everything is mental, that means I'm only the fucking mind. That means when I came down here, I created these impulses or these points for me to experience to do what the fuck I needed to do. So now if I look at it that way and I apply that logic to it, I understand that I'm responsible because I'm the cause. I'm the cause of it being there. I'm the common denominator in being in that space. I'm the common denominator of that space. I got to accept that I benefited from that fucking trauma because that trauma allowed me to move forward and do what I'm doing now. But in order for me to move forward, now it's time for me to accept how I benefit from the trauma will no longer benefit me moving forward. That's how you step into the apology. That's how you step into forgiveness. I forgive myself for not knowing what I know now. Now I accept, I have acknowledged how I benefited from the trauma. I accept that I no longer can benefit from this trauma if I want to move forward. And now I forgive myself for not having this information before, but now that I have this information, I can go forward. Now I'm going to go through the process of challenge every one of the traditional points or the moral points of my old moral compass by going through the darkness that is the land of immorality. That's why you came down here. This is the land of deception and chaos. Chaos is the only thing that is real because chaos is the undefined aspects of your emotion. That's why when you get in a chaotic situation, the first thing you start doing is thinking about everything that happened before you got to that situation. But you ain't thinking about it to the depth of it to understand it. You're thinking about it to go back that that's your identity. Let me get back to my moral self. Let me get back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me remember something to remember myself. That moral traditional aspect is your old identity. Within the immoral aspect is everything based into your fucking shadow. Everything that's immoral is built from your shadow. I'm gonna let you. This is how you're gonna understand how everything immoral is built from your shadow self. Because in your morals, you think it's wrong. You think it's wrong because it becomes a level of that pedophilia and all that shit. Pedophilia, somebody else controlling your money and your taxes and your energy, all of this aspects in war and all of these things that are against the moral compass of yourself. They were all created from the fucking shadow self. So as long as you're kept in an emotional imbalance, your shadow still feeds. Your shadow now gives you this false reality of morality. It gives you this false perception of light. I'm love and light and I'm peace. And I just want everybody, our natural state is in love. And in order for love is about no. Love ain't got nothing to do with possession. Love ain't got nothing to do with fuck. Love ain't got nothing to do with possession. Authority ain't got nothing to do with fucking control. You've been given that narrative and you stay stuck within that narrative because that fits you staying within your traditional mindset. That keeps you in the oppressed mindset. That keeps you clinging to the crutch of oppression, the crutch of struggle. I don't struggle no more. I'm not oppressed. I'm free to say whatever the fuck I like, whenever the fuck I want to say it. But that takes discipline. Because I've said that shit before. It takes more discipline to do what you want than to do what you can. Doing what you can and feeling like you're doing what you want, I have you stuck in that predestination. You gonna go, now you motherfuckers out here 36 right now and they scared about having fucking niggas. It's the last year that I can have children. Maybe you ain't supposed to have kids. What gave you the destination theory that you're supposed to have a kid with every nigga that you meet? What gave you the predestination complex that you're supposed to have kids with every chick that you lay in, that you're supposed to have kids with every chick that you meet? You stuck in this aspect of you stuck within the physical or the lower vibrational tenses trying to keep your morality in check. Yo, man, I'm just trying to go off the feeling. So now you throw your morals out the window. But the moment that your morals are challenged by something that's supposed to make you grow, you'll look at it like, nah, I'm just doing this for my family. This bullshit ass fucking filter you put into your life. This bullshit ass thought process that you put into your life to keep you doing what the fuck you doing. The shit I'm doing now, you couldn't even tell me about in the last fucking 8 years ago. The way that I am now, you couldn't even, if somebody were to like literally take my content and take it to 2003, we gonna go all the way back. 2003, and somebody, I was like sitting here looking at myself, I couldn't fathom me doing what being even I would be stuck on the image. I'd be stuck on the fucking image in that sense of the self. When you're moving into your new self, the thing that has you stuck is the old image that has been projected over and over and over again and replicated and imitated over and over and over again. So now you feel that when you come into a certain space of yourself, now that you change, now in order for me to be what I'm supposed to be, I have to change my image. Your image ain't got shit to do with it. I'm sitting here in all black talking about spiritual sciences. If somebody was to tell me something about spiritual sciences and I was still stuck in a certain space, I'd be stuck in that kente cloth stage. I never went through wearing the kente cloth stage. I never went through that stage because a lot of people out here right now in that space, that's where they're stuck at. They feel like if they're rocking all the crystals, they're rocking all the fucking beads, they got on a fucking ankh, they got on this fucking shit that, okay, cool, I am the image of spirituality. You ain't reached that shit, my son, my guy. You ain't reached it yet, sis. Because you being in your authentic self is about the ultimate aspects of expressing your true self. So me being in this space where I'm at, where I'm sitting here right now, there is nothing that is stopping me from delivering what I say. I'm in that state of my immorality to myself. I know there's going to be motherfuckers that are going to look at me like that nigga is not talking, that nigga is crazy, or that he ain't talking about the white man and all this shit. So the fuck I need to do that shit for. I am Judas to the old paradigm. I've said this before. I just love saying it. I am Judas to the old paradigm. I shall kiss the old paradigm on the cheek and usher in the new paradigm. I made that decision. That is one of my main mantras. I shall challenge everything that my ego tries to use to keep me within a state of constriction. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the time of the pyramids, back in the early BCs of shit. I don't want to go back to that. Why the fuck would I want to go back to that? I enjoy being able to use my fucking phone and use the new technologies, even though I really don't need it. This is another difference based on attachment. I'm not attached to anything. These are just enhancements. We come into that space and we get stuck on motherfuckers get stuck on the external aspect or the imagery and making that's the reason for their own thing. You can tell this based on those time locks, because you have people right now that will use the old way of aspect, and they'll be like, yo, you got to use word of mouth. You got to get, I'll use an example. I had a guy that I met through a friend. He hit me with that, yo, you got to be in front of the people. The fuck I got to go in front of the people for? This next wave of technology, everything from YouTube to Facebook to Instagram to creating my own streaming service, the Secret Society is coming soon. I ain't got to get in front of all these people anymore. That's part of the old paradigm. That's part of the old paradigm. To feel like I got to go get in front of people. I got to go lecture in front of 100 fucking people and do that shit. That's part of the old paradigm. It's all about quantifying. It's all about the quantifying aspect. I remember when I first started doing the God thoughts. The God thoughts started as a blog. Like I would drop the information. I would drop the insight every every time, like after I wake up, similar to when I do the God Occult, the God meditate and elevate. I would sit there and I would like literally go through the process of like, okay, let me type this up real quick. And then I post it and I shared to multiple groups and shit. Then they graduated into me doing lives. Then they graduated into the podcast. Then they graduated into the live YouTube channel. Then it graduated into me doing more aspects of that. Then it graduated into me. Okay, cool. I've came to a point to where it's time for me to actually. My purpose is to start healing, doing the healing process. So now I offer the services. Everything that I'm doing, everything that you're doing, should take you into a natural succession of evolution. You're not going to go through that natural aspect of evolution if you stuck within old traditions, because you're going to be depending on the old traditional aspect of my brother, my homie, my dude. Like he was like, yo, you got to be in front of people. That means you got to do a lecture in front of like, you'll know you're real and you know your message is reaching people once you sit there and you lecture in front of 900 people and ain't listening to you. No, that's not how that works. Me quantifying the aspect is if I do, whether I drop a live, I put something on Instagram, I put something on social media, and then that's my promotion of the aspect. And if someone later on hits me in my inbox or sends me a text message or hits the site and they're like, yo, I heard what you said about shadow work. And today I need to start on doing shadow work, but I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm open to, you said honesty is that key. That's how I know my shit's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm not dependent upon views and likes and all. I'm not dependent upon that shit. I don't need it anymore. That's a key aspect. I don't need that. That goes back to me, for myself, is like, I don't need acceptance from the masses to validate myself. I know what I'm doing is in the aspect of the truth of myself within my purpose. So when it comes to the time for where that thought comes into my mind, all right, cool. Oh shit, Brother Panic dropped a lecture. The last 3 lectures Brother Panic dropped were talking about the aspects of shadow work. Everything he said previous, like he was the knowledge. He didn't say anything about the shadow work. The last 3 things he said was shadow work. So instead of me sitting there, so the ego aspect would be like, see, now niggas trying to jock off my shit. No, that's an elder that is talking about shadow work. I know I'm in the position that I need to be in. It's not based on external validation. I'm now, that's revalidating what I already validated within myself. And that's what the aspect of that confidence. That's the aspect of you moving against the old paradigm of yourself. Grounding yourself, surrendering to your own purpose. Surrendering to your soul's purpose. My soul purpose is to motherfucking make motherfuckers think. My sole purpose is to initiate. My sole purpose is to inform. My sole purpose is to respond and move forward. That's my sole purpose. That is the groundwork of my sole purpose. Remember, I was talking about 70-30. That's the groundwork of my sole purpose. So as long as I'm following the knowing and the feeling in my sole purpose, everything's on point. Everything's where it need to be. I'm not worried about aspects outside of myself. Like, but like my mom left me. My mom ain't talking to me. My sisters think I'm fucking the devil worshiper. My brother, he don't talk to me and all of this shit. And you getting all emotional. That shit ain't gonna do nothing. Do what the fuck you supposed to be doing. Set your path. Understand the patterns. Stop moving in fucking impulse. If you sitting there, you trying to run out, and why are you trying to run out there and do something? Man, because I really need this money because, man, my kids is hungry and shit and all of this. What happened to all that aspect of yourself? All you had to do is meditate. You don't need nothing outside of yourself. But those are my kids, and they need this, this, and this. They don't understand that yet. If they don't understand it, that means you don't understand it. If you don't understand it, that means they don't understand it. No, yeah. If they don't understand it, I mean you don't understand it. That's what's stopping you. You don't understand it yet. You have not applied the knowledge to the deeper aspects of yourself. Because if you did, you'll have that. You'll have that honest conversation with your kids. You'll have that honest conversation with your friends. You'll have that honest conversation with these people that you call in your life. You'll have honest conversations. You won't be afraid to challenge the aspects of the traditional trajectories of your life. You wouldn't be thinking about it in that space. You move differently. This whole year is on the aspects of me building up my LLC mentality. Replicating the LLC. Anybody around me, they're based on that. They're creators. They're healers. I'm not fucking with anything less. Period. Like you're gonna come to this point in your work when you have grounded yourself to sit there and really say, I'm not fucking with anything less than me. I'm not fucking with anything less than me. Period. You're gonna set that parameter, you're gonna set that fucking boundary, and you're gonna be sitting there like, yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. That way, since you defined your energy in that aspect, guess what you're gonna do? When the shit come up, you're gonna be like, yeah, that ain't me no more. Because this is how your ego reflects outside of you. Here's a correspondence in the aspect. You're gonna have that friend, that family member, whatever it is, they gonna hit you with the, yo, you don't do the same shit. You aren't the same way you used to be. That's your ego talking to you. Remember, everything's a reflection of you. That friend that tells you, yo, you don't hang out no more. You ain't hanging out with us no more. You don't party no more. You don't do this shit no more. That's your ego talking to you. That is your ego challenging you. That is the bot. Like the last thing that I thought about, like the download that came through on the aspects of bots. The bots, the reflections, the soulless, the people. Everybody always try to take this shit to this evil aspect. And I made that post. I made that stance in myself and I put it out. We have to stop putting ourselves in this position with ourselves in our mind and our mentalities based on looking at things or taking things from the protagonist or the antagonist state of being. We got to stop doing this antagonist and protagonist state of being mindset. That's just done with. Anything that promotes fear, you should not be allowing into your space. Anything that promotes fear, promotes separation, promotes this disengagement, you shouldn't be allowing into your space. Your focus in your space where you at right now is going to be based upon the internal work of unifying yourself. So everything that's going to come up to you right now, it's been doing it, but now we're in a space in this quantum realm, in that fifth dimensional aspect of the energy coming into that space, where it's quantifying, where it's not allowing you to be able to like I give you an example. If I had a ball in my hand and I threw it at the screen, there's nobody for me to blame it on but me. I threw the ball at the screen. Because now I'm going to be looking at a cracked reflection of multiple facets and fragments looking back at me as a cracked screen. So now I can look at it and be like, man, that's fucked up, man. One of y'all cracked this screen. When in reality, those splits that are showing up in your life, this is the aspect of that, your soul being split and your soul coming together, the Dragon Balls coming together to make that wish. The Dragon Balls coming together to make that wish. The dragon arising so you can make that wish to what you want to your destiny type shit. Yeah, that's Dragon Ball Z. That's the gems were in there. That's what you're doing right now. I think it's like 8 Dragon Balls. There's 8 aspects of your soul. You're bringing your soul back together. That's the integration process. All these splits, all the split personalities that you have, that you're trying to maintain, all of them old relationships, those are all aspects of your split personality. The reason that you keep going into them spaces is because you're going based into emotion. Therefore, you're not even looking at that relationship is supposed to restore your soul to yourself. That friendship that you bonded on based on trauma, your soul's in that space. You have not gained the confidence to pull your soul out of that space. Your soul is in that space. That relationship with your mother in that tense, that's bad and rooted into the bad, that soul contract, the part of the amendment of your soul contract, they're a part of that. This is when we get into the soul contracts. This is when we get into the aspect of the soul contract. They're a part of your soul contract. Your soul contract, in the depth of your soul contract, is the amendment. There's a page in your soul contract. You get this through meditation. It's going to show you the reason for everybody that's in your life. I've done that meditation many fucking times. I instruct this during shadow therapy, shadow work sessions, and getting into the aspect of the work when the shaman aspect of my shaman aspect. I'm feeling so live right now. But within that aspect of that information, there's the page that gives you the aspect of what everybody in your life is supposed to be doing. You inherently know what everybody in your life is supposed to be doing. Their role in this life. They've had that same role in every life that you've had, but they've taken on a different title in every life. That's why your mom, if you sitting there, you feel like you got to take care of your mom more than she take care of herself. Guess what? Your mother was probably your daughter. If you feel the relationship between you and your mother has never been a relationship of a mother and daughter, has been more like sisters, that means your mother was probably your sister in a past life. If the relationship with your father is more like in that same tense, that means in your past life, that's what they were. The title changed based on where you came back into this space. I was a fucking, for the second cycle, I've been through 6 cycles. This is my last cycle. In my second cycle, I was a tyrant in my second cycle. I was a tyrant. Like, nigga, I didn't give a fuck about nobody's feelings. So when I came into this cycle, that second cycle had to come up. So the beginning aspects of my life, my pops was a tyrant. My pops said out of his mouth, and it resonated with me when I did my meditation. My pops said, he was like, I do not rule through love, I rule through fucking fear. That shit hit me to a depth. After I got past the emotional aspect, I was like, I've said that before. I don't rule through love, I rule through fear. I looked at that, I was like, nigga, I've said that before. Where have I heard that before? That was me in a past life. So then it made sense why my moms met my pops and got bonded to my pops. That was a part of her assignment. Everybody got their own assignments. Whether they choose to accept their assignment or not, that's not on you. This is that validation process. My mom has her own assignment. I cannot step in and loan my energy to my mother's assignment, but I can't give her the information or the knowledge as she comes to that space. As she gravitates to that, my mom gravitated to the space, she got the information, she do it as she needs to do. Seed been planted. I did what I needed to do. I've done my assignments. I know that I've done my assignments because now I'm in a different space of mind. I'm in a different space in my spiritual aspect with myself. Everybody has different fucking assignments. You have to respect their assignments as they respect your assignments. Whenever this is the thought process of you don't know who the fuck you fucking with because in their spiritual level, they're in a different space. I'm in a higher, different arc in a spiritual level in that spiritual realm. I know that because nigga, when I leave, I'm in a whole different mindset. I've skipped steps that most motherfuckers ain't even mastered yet. I can just simply do this aspect. It's like if you ever watched a good anime and you look at like the newbie or the new guy or the person that they're saying is the fucking the prodigal aspect within the movie or within the show, and they don't have to do certain things, they can skip certain steps, they have to learn certain things. That's where I'm at. That's where a lot of us are at within our space, within our realm. We're able to skip certain steps. I'm a manifested generator. So like now it makes more sense for me why I can skip certain steps. I ain't got to do certain shit. Like motherfuckers, like I can explain it to them like, yo, in order for you to do what I'm doing, you got to do this, 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 and this. It's all based on intent, the internal work, doing that whole process. But for me, I ain't got to do that shit. Why you ain't got to do it if that's what nigga, I'm not on we're not in the same space. I got a different set of assignments. I'm in a different set of assignments. It's not based on the emotional aspect. Motherfuckers get stuck in that emotional aspect and they get stuck on, yo, so why can't I do that? And why can't I do what you doing if that's what we supposed nigga, I didn't say you're supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You looking at it through that ego aspect. So going back to my mother, now I understand why my mother was assigned to my pops, and my pops was assigned to my mother, and why my father wasn't assigned to assigned to my mother. My father was assigned to me. My father was my brother in past lives. He was assigned to me. So when I met him in the sense of the brotherhood. I met him in the sense of becoming a friend first. I met him in the sense of the brotherhood. So when we start looking at our lives and why our lives became the way that they became, when you start looking at your life and seeing how it became the way it became, it's all based on this is the design aspect. Some of us didn't have our mother in our life, or we were bounced around from household to household. That's a part of the design within your life. But you got to take it out of the moral aspect of, but in the morality, traditional aspect, the mother, the father, the mother and the father and the 3.5 kids and the dog in the house, you got to take yourself out of that emotional aspect. That's not what you're supposed to be getting, because that becomes part of that predestination complex. Because now you're going to find yourself trying to make that happy family based on the trauma and not doing it based on connection. Like for me, for example, in this life cycle, I knew I was not supposed to bear children from my seeds. I knew my seeds were meant to do some do some higher level shit. I knew my shit was supposed to do some higher level shit. In the reality of this consequence, in me understanding this for myself now, I remember that my first fiance, back when I was like 19, trying to make myself good with Jesus, she got pregnant, miscarriage. She was sad. I was sad. We were supposed to have a baby, supposed to be great. Yo, we gonna have a baby and all that good shit. Until it happened again. Not with her, it was like a different chick, like another miscarriage. Didn't happen. Until I instilled into my mind to move that predestination aspect, the kid, the wife, all that shit, that wasn't meant for me. I'm not meant to do that. But in the connection aspect, my works, what will happen with me what will happen with me is my seeds will be taken to the next level if I come into that bond with when I'm in that connection, when I'm in that connection. My seeds will be taken to the next level to create higher aspects of create these higher realms and open up them higher gates in those buildings. Had to accept that in myself. That's a very emotional thing. You're like, nigga, because you now going through the aspect like every nigga, you go right back to the moral aspects when I was talking about earlier, the aspect of deading your emotions and all those aspects. No, nigga, like a man's highest purpose is to leave a seed and a legacy. I'm leaving a legacy based on my works. That's my connection aspect. So since I'm unified to myself, the next space that I come into, those things will correspond in perfect balance within the aspects of the balance. That doesn't mean that I won't raise children. It just means that my energy is not meant for that aspect in this life, in that cycle. I'm not meant to do I don't have to go through the germination process in that tense. I don't have to go through the germination process in that tense to experience it, to observe it, to live through it. This is one of the major keys when you're coming into this immoral state. There's certain things you ain't supposed to be fucking doing. There's no anchors for me. I have no anchors in this life. I've had anchors in past lives because there was shit I needed to learn within that space. I had to create something within that space. 1 second. This is in the space of needing and wanting nothing. This is in the space of needing and wanting nothing. I have no needs or no wants in this space. I have no needs nor no wants in this space. Once you have embraced that you have no needs or wants within this space, and now you define that you have no needs or wants within this space, it allows you to come into that reality for yourself to actually be able to program and do the things that you want to do. The things that you want to do require, remember, doing what you want, being in the true authority of yourself takes more authority than doing what you can. Doing what you can will always leave you stuck with an aspect of time. Doing what you can will always leave you stuck in that aspect of that moral feature. It always leave you stuck in that moral feature. It always leave you in that state of that moral aspect. It always leave you like, yo, I'm doing this for my people, and our people need to come together and build a community and have a financial plan and have this, and this. None of that shit can come into fruition until you understand your own fucking energy anyway. You will never get the perfect relationship, that balanced relationship, that connection that you want until you look into yourself and do it to yourself first. That's the same thing when it comes into the aspects of an emotion. You are your economic plan. Define your energy. That's how you define your economic plan. Define the community of the energy that's within you. That's how you gain the access to, that's how you gain the access to your community. Until you do the shit to yourself, you ain't going no fucking where. You attach to a lower vibrational thought process that ain't gonna do shit for you. You motherfuckers out here stuck right now talking about, yo, man, we need to have an economic plan. We need to do this. We need to do this. But have they done it to themselves yet? They'll give you a whole soapbox of thought process. Yo, we need to have weapons. We need to do this. We need to do this. But they haven't done it to themselves yet. I know of I've only seen one individual that actually markets through that aspect. And I'm like, nigga, damn. If I knew then what I know now, if I knew then what I know now, if I knew then what I knew now, that house that I bought my mother, I would have bought it through an LLC. All the cars I didn't have, and they depreciated with value and lost value and all that shit, I would have bought them through an LLC. I would have bought them just through an LLC. Because if you didn't understand that aspect, I'm working on that now when I get higher into the aspects of my businesses. Everything has a leverage and a decline point. You learn how to use everything to your advantage to transmute it. Like the aspect that you sitting there with I'm using an example, and we're gonna use this example to expound upon our energy. If I have an LLC or I have a business, and I say, hey, my business needs a vehicle so I can travel, I can actually purchase my vehicle through my business. There's an actual 6,000 pound law. Like most cars are under that 6,000 pounds, but most cars are 6,000 pounds. You can actually buy a car for at 6,000 pounds, under 6,000 pounds. And as it depreciates, you can write it off every year. So that's like, let's say you grab a car. You grab a car, that bitch like $20,000, for example. Grab a car, $20,000. You know it depreciates every year. You can write off that depreciation value every single year and benefit from it, and it becomes a write-off. So let's say a car depreciates, I think by 20% when it drives off the lot. So let's say that $20,000 car that you bought, in the next year, it dropped down to $10,000. It dropped down to about, let's say, $15,000. You can write off that $15,000, and then your company, when it comes time to you do your taxes, you get that credit of $15,000, a percentage of that $15,000. So every year your car depreciates, you can write off the depreciation value. How does this work synonymously with your energy within your space? What you're doing to work with yourself. Every year and every day that you go through a cycle outside of emotion, when you go into your relationships, friendships, everything that you're doing based on allowing it to work and allowing yourself to learn a lesson, every year that you lose a friend or you lose a family member or you separate from a fucking family member, they don't serve a purpose, you can write it off you're writing them off by you learning the lesson that you needed to learn. That increases the value of yourself. LLC mentality. In the same way that a car depreciates with value or the vehicle depreciates with value every year and you write off that amount, is the same way you writing off your friends. So instead of you sitting there making that announcement, yo, I'm writing off, nigga, fuck everybody this year. Fuck them. They don't understand me. They with me or against me. They're against me. They ain't gonna stop me from my grind and my shine. Okay, what did you learn? What value did you learn? What aspect did you fucking learn? Oh, you didn't learn anything. I'm gonna tell you why you didn't learn anything. Because guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna meet another friend you're gonna meet another person or another conduit that's going to serve the same fucking purpose. Except this time, because of the emotional energy that you put in during the decline, the emotional energy that you put in during the decline, they're going to imitate and replicate that. So that friend that looked at your man or that friend that looked at your girl in the past relationship, in this next cycle that you gonna go through, they gonna get in the house with your girl, with your guy. The next cycle, that chick, that thought process that every nigga ain't shit in your mind, every bitch ain't loyal in your mind, in the next cycle, guess what's gonna happen? They gonna get some shit, they gonna get some fucking play from your fucking chick, from your fucking nigga. And it's gonna continue until you understand that, wait, what's the common denominator? My thought that niggas ain't shit. My thought that bitches ain't shit. My thought that the white man ain't shit. It's only going to get fucking worse because it's supposed to. It's only going to keep going through that aspect because it's supposed to degenerate. We went from gay niggas and the gays and homosexuals being hidden and shit to right now they being accepted under all these new bills and laws. You sitting there in your mind like it's an agenda against the black people, and no, nigga, that's the degeneration process. Because it went from literally, take the thought, let's think about it. It went from homosexuals and from being gays and lesbians and all that good shit, to now motherfuckers are transgenders. So transgenders, lower vibration, they cannot accept the feminine aspect of themselves that they came in to be. They cannot accept the masculine aspect that they came in to be. It's similar to me not accepting my androgyny of my above. It's doing what it's supposed to do. But as long as you're looking at it from the traditional aspect, that's not a part of our culture, and this is, and whatever it is, as long as you look at it through that lens, you're not seeing that this shit doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The timeline is exactly on time. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. You just don't know how to transmute and learn from it. You don't know how to write that shit off like, oh, that's not, you don't know how to write it off and understand and accept the lesson. So you sit there in that space and you mad with yourself, upset with yourself, everything going ahead, everything doing exactly what it's supposed to do. You keep getting stuck with an emotion. You keep getting upset based on an emotional aspect. That's why you can't move forward. What is it triggering? What is it teaching you? What am I learning from this experience? Because until you learn from the experience, it's only going to keep repeating itself. You only going to keep letting shit into your space that's only going to keep repeating itself. So I asked you the question, what are you going to do? Do you enjoy riding in the back seat? Some of y'all are in the back seat to your shadows and your emotions. Some of you are in the passenger seat to your emotions and your shadow selves in the back seat. Some of you are taking on, ooh, we're in this trip together and I'm gonna drive a little bit, then you can drive a little bit, then you can drive a little bit. All of you are in different, everybody's in a different fucking configuration. It's time for you to accept which configuration you in. Here becomes that reality in that space. Some of y'all are doing the sage. Some of y'all are doing your saging and saging your space and making your space look all good and doing your sage and doing your sage and doing all your rituals. But then you're not realizing that you're like, okay, friends is falling off and family members is falling off. Friends is falling off and people I don't fuck with really. But when it comes to the internal sense, the things that you define inside of yourself, you ain't even looking at like, when's the last time that your brother been at your house? When the last time your sister came into your house? When the last time your brother came into your house? When the last time your mother sent you a text message? When the last time a family member sent you a text message? Since you've been saging and you've been in your work, doing your shit. That's the depth. That's getting in depth with your shadow work. That's getting in depth with the work that you need to do and seeing it for what it is. Some of you feel the need. Some of y'all have that longing. Some of y'all right now are having that longing for the family aspect, sisters, brothers, and all that shit. And you're finding yourself straying away from your path to maintain that relationship. Some of y'all are straying away from your path to maintain a relationship. And then wondering when you come back into your space, you don't match the energy within your space. In my space right now, I'm pro everything in my space. I am my space. My space is I. I literally spent the greater part of the day cleaning, organizing, I don't know. The spirit said, my grandmother came through and she was like, yo, when you go to the store, grab some Pine Sol. It was like, okay, I got some Pine Sol. It's an old hoodoo trick. Grab some Pine Sol and clean the house with Pine Sol. Clean the house, reset the altars. My aunt came through, gave me new configurations for the altars in the space. It's time to revamp the altars. It's time to redo a lot of things. You in the end of a cycle. Papa. You in the end of a cycle, Lucy. I was like, all right, cool. And I've now reconfigured every altar in my space. Don't question it. I question like, yo, I didn't question it based on why. I was like, all right, cool. What's the configuration? Bet. Let's do it. Let's get into that space. I'm in that space of that quantum thought process. I'm moving strictly off fucking response. There is no more, for me, there is no more waiting. There is no more waiting. There is no more trying to convert. There is no more trying to make people do what they don't want to do. There is no more of that. For me, it's this becomes your key when you're in your space. It becomes your key. Here's a major key that I even thought about. When you ask a person what's stopping them from doing what they're doing, something as simple as, for me, I'll use an example. When you ask yourself what's stopping you from doing what you need to do, remove it. Remove it. Remove it. Everything's a reflection of your space. I can sit in my space right now. I can be like, yo, like, let's use an example like, okay, the floor in my kitchen needed to be mopped, for an example. What stopped me from mopping my floor? A mop. Let me go. I need the tools to do that. All right, cool. Let me go get the mop. Remove the excuses. I went and got a mop that in there, mop that in there. Everything that needed to get a mop to it is good, it's clean. There's no more excuses. That's going to be your key and you moving forward. There's no more fucking excuses. You got one or two choices. Is you going to heal or you going to repeat? There's no more excuses. Period. There ain't no more. Y'all looking, there's 4 more, I said it the other week, there's 4 more years of escapism. I'm all in with my works. I'm all into my space. I'm all in with whatever I do. There is no more of this. I've always been the all or nothing type of God. I've always been that. I'm either all in to accept everything within that space or I'm not in there at all. I used to waver this boundary for myself where I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, I see you trying. I see you doing some shit. So I'm going to stick around. There's no more of that. Period. I remember when I watched the Swiss Beats, and I don't know if anybody remember that. When Swiss Beats got with Alicia Keys and his wife, I don't remember his wife's name. And like him and ever since Swiss Beats been with Alicia Keys, his shit went up in the aspect. This is just a reflection to look at. His shit has went up. And Alicia Keys shit went up to a certain point and she doing her thing in that aspect. This is just an example. But that's the aspect of the mindset where you're at. If it's going to allow you to move forward, it's going to challenge you to move forward. Why wouldn't you embark upon it? What's stopping you from embarking and you going forward? That traditional mindset, you being stuck in that mindset of, but what about my people? What about my family? What about my friends? Fuck them. What are my kids going to think about me? Fuck your kids. Because here's the reality into it. If you're not being totally honest and open to yourself, you can't be totally open and honest to them. If you are not being open and honest and vulnerable to yourself, you cannot be open, honest, and vulnerable to them. My 8-year-old nephew knows that I sold drugs. He asked me. He was like, I think daddy sells drugs. He had told me that his dad sold drugs. I was like, yeah, he did. We all done it. He was like, you did. And the next question he asked me was like, did you do it? I was like, yes, I did. With no hesitation. I was like, yes, I did. I did it for your grandmother. I did it under the I did it to help I did it to help your grandmother. He was like, I don't think my dad did it to help anybody but himself. I was like, you're right, because that's what I did. He was like, so when you do certain things, and this is my 8-year-old nephew, and he's sitting here, we having this conversation. He was like, so when people do certain things and they say it's for other people, it's really for themselves. I was like, yeah. He was like, how can you tell? I was like, the way that you can tell is because they will continue to state and keep saying it. So if they I was like, basically put it like this. When you're saying something true to yourself, this before I was even in the aspect of this is before I was in any type of mindset where I'm at now. I was like, if you have to say it over and over and over again, you're trying to convince yourself. And he looked at me. He was like, okay. And ever since then, he understood that. So this excuse for a lot of us is the aspect of they won't understand it. That's friend, family, kids, whatever it is. That's under the reflection of you have a fear of them being exposed to your truth. You have a fear of being exposed to your truth. You have a fear of being exposed to your truth of yourself. Vulnerability to yourself. Nothing is off limits with me. Anybody can ask me any fucking question. I'll give them the answer. Period. That's how you start moving now. I have no, if you ask me a question, I will give you a straight answer. There's nothing in me is corrupted or that I gotta like move around it and be like, nah, but you gotta understand that this, and this. I'm not in that mindset anymore. Because that was a mindset that I suffered from based on trying to be accepted. I don't give a fuck about that shit anymore. If what I say offends somebody, it did what it was supposed to do. If I say something that offends somebody, and my core purpose of myself, and my reflection of myself, is to heal, is to teach, is to learn, and that's my core aspect. If it hits somebody and it offends them, makes them mad, makes them think a certain way, makes them feel a certain way, it's only going through one of their filters. This is the aspect of you learning. This is you learning the aspect of you being in your authentic self. What you're going to say, if your core is based on your truth to yourself, you learning yourself, you rising in yourself, you the healed aspect of yourself, you're going to start seeing that when you say certain things to certain individuals, it's only going through one of their filters. That's what's hitting them. So they're going to take the information through one of their filters. The filter of the feeling of that personality. Based on that defined aspect of what you are to them. How they define you to them, and how you define them to you. Like, to my sisters, I'm not a brother to them anymore. To my sisters, I'm not a brother to them anymore. Because I do not meet the definition of what I do not meet their definition of what a brother is. Okay, and to certain family members, I don't meet those definitions anymore. That's why motherfuckers get emotional with your ass. Because you don't meet the definition of what they set in themselves about what you were to them. You don't match their definition. You are immoral. You are a monster. You are the monster. You are the monster under their bed. You are the monster in their closet. You are the monster that they have not yet. You are the monster, you are the evil that they have not faced. You are the living aspect. That's what live, evil, live. You are the lie. You are the living manifestation of an aspect of themselves that they have not been willing to face. That sound familiar? When we think about white people? When motherfuckers is mad at white people, they are a living aspect and a reflection that you have not yet faced in yourself. You mad at your baby. You mad at your baby father because he got married to a chick and they happy and they trips and shit. They are a reflection of an aspect that you have not met within yourself. You mad at your baby mother that got married and has kids and shit and they all happy and shit. They are a reflection of something that you have not identified in yourself. You getting mad when you seeing married pictures and motherfuckers getting married and you ain't got married yet. They are a reflection of what you have not identified in yourself. You see a motherfucker successful and they winning and they going on trips and they got businesses and shit and you upset at that shit. They are a reflection of what you have not defined in yourself. Yo, homie Your homegirl mad at you because you got a car, you got a man, you got a chick, your life is going good. You are the reflection of what they have not accepted in themselves. They have not accepted that they're immoral or they have not accepted that their traditional way of approaching life in existence, what you're doing is the immoral aspect of that same existence. As long as they are against what you are doing, they can keep doing what they're doing. They ain't got to move. They ain't got to make a move. They ain't got to budge. Because naturally, if you are emotionally tied to them in any way, shape, or form, guess what? Your energy naturally goes to them in their space. You still have not defined in yourself what a true friend is. You're still looking at the external validation of what a friend is. I'm my own best friend. I'm my own friend, my own best friend, my own confidant. I'm my own sister. I'm my own brother. I'm my own mother. I'm my own father. I'm my own uncle. I'm all of the ancestors within me. I'm all of the ancestors within me. So naturally, anything that has not met those requirements within inside of themselves, they can't connect to me. They can't attach to me. But anybody that's done that work, any entity or energy that's done that work, they connect to me. That's your soul tribe. Based on what level they are at within their work, is their level within your space. You ain't got to worry about shit. This is the not needing or wanting anything. I don't need or want for anything. Everything that I need, I get. Everything that I need, I get exactly when I need it. If not before, yeah, exactly when I need it. I don't have to worry about I need to do a manifestation ritual to get some stuff for myself. I am the manifestation. I am the abundance. I am the prosperity. I listen to the same meditation track, the same mantra track every day before I go to the gym. I actually listened to it today while I was putting together my altars. Same one every fucking day. I don't listen to it because I don't listen to it from the space of I need that energy in my life. It's already in my life. It's already me. I'm just listening to a reflection of myself from a different point. And now I'm aligned to that aspect of that energy. So it's a natural aspect of myself. Some of the times I don't even realize why I'm even. Some of the times when it comes into my playlist, I don't even know how the fuck I don't know how it even worked. It just flows into that space. That's the organic flow. That's the organic aspect of your energy. That's the immoral point. This is the trifecta. Everything that declines is going to separate. As things decline, as things degenerate, as you rise, they will fall into the separate counterpart. They will fall into the separation. That's the falling of the angels, the falling of the angels of light, the falling of the lost fragments, the lost sea scrolls. All of these aspects that's down here is information. It's going to fall into the point where it needs to fall into. Think about Price is Right. I don't know if y'all was chilling with your I chilled with my grandmother, and she loved Price is Right. She loved Barb Barker. She loved the Price is Right. She loved the Plinko game and watching that shit fall into them little slots. She liked watching that little shit fall into the little slots. That's what you playing with right now. As you do what you're supposed to be doing, as above, the below part is only based on what you defined as above. You first got to define it above. In order to define that shit above, guess what you got to do to define that shit above? You actually got to do that fucking internal work. I define all of my energy. Everything that I do before I get into something major is my foreplay. Me waking up and closing my eyes and meditating, that's the beginning of my foreplay. That's the beginning of my 12 play. My 12 play. My workouts, that's the beginning of my 12 play. Me doing meditation and elevation, that's a part of my 12 play. That's a part of my foreplay. That's me getting my day started. I own my day. I am my day. My day is me. My day is the essence of me. Everything you're doing is a mantra. Everything you're doing is a program. Everything you're doing is instilling and invoking your energy. How do you define what you invoke your energy into is a part of that program? Simply sitting here and be like, I want to manifest abundance into my life. And now all of a sudden, you got more problems in your life than happiness in your life. It's because that energy of abundance that you have invoked is only going to fulfill what you're already abundant in. It's going to shine light onto what you're abundant in. So you got friends, you got family members, you got the job ain't shit, whatever it may be, and you move it in that space, that's what it shines light on first. Your higher self, like, well, before you become the baller that you want to be and whatever you want to be, you got to deal with that. But nah, man, that's been in my life, my entire life. It ain't supposed to be there no more. This is the process of you stepping into your higher self. This is you stepping into that. Everybody loved watching Plinko. That shit was fun. Like, you watching and you like, fall, 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 fall. Yes. And you sitting there trying to make it. I remember sitting there trying to make that shit move with my mind so many fucking times. And when it fell into the spot, I was like, ooh, it fell. Everything you've done up to this point, unconsciously, has been you tapping into your power. Everything you've done up to this point is you've been tapping into your power. You don't need nothing externally to validate your power, validate your energy. You just got to step out of this moral and immoral. Because everything you're doing based on, I'm going to give you here's the secret. Everything you do based on you building yourself in an eternal work is immoral. You doing your shadow work is immoral. You setting that tone and you meditating is immoral. Everything you doing based on you becoming your higher self will become is the epitome of immoral. Do you know why it's immoral? Because it goes against everything that's traditionally based on the moral aspect of your old self. When you master that, you become the immoral. You become the balance. You become what you need in your fucking life. You become that higher aspect of your life. That's your key. That's the key to letting go. That's the key to understanding, like, yo, like, they're really not on my level. And you're not doing it based on the pettiness, like, they ain't on my level. Because this is what happens with a lot of people when they come into that space. When you come into this space, you embrace your spirituality. You embrace the higher aspects of yourself. Then guess what you sit there and start doing? You vicariously start living through them and looking at their space like, nah, man, like, it's because I meditate every day that I'm doing this. You become the pettiness. You become the misery. You become the triggers. That's the key. You become the triggers. In order to go to any next level, you must become what stops at that level. So you go from being hit by the triggers to becoming the triggers. Once you become the triggers, you become the next aspects of defining the energy after you have came into balance. That's what you're doing. That's your work. That's your process. Once you understand, once it doesn't trigger you anymore, you become the triggers. I'm a trigger to a lot of people. I trigger niggas. I trigger motherfuckers' insecurities. I trigger motherfuckers' doubts. I trigger motherfuckers' confidence. I trigger motherfuckers' shit. I trigger their emotions because I'm supposed to be doing that. That's my purpose. I ain't supposed to make you feel good. I'm supposed to make you better because I'm supposed to make myself better. I desire you to be the fucking best because that means that you're a reflection of me becoming the best. I'm connected to every aspect of that energy. That's big stroke energy. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I desire you to be vulnerable. Why? Because it teaches me how to be vulnerable. It gives me you being vulnerable and understanding your vulnerability. This is the aspect when you look at the Kabbalah, breaking down the Kabbalah, the aspects of expression. Your vulnerability will be a trigger to others becoming more vulnerable. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're only doing what you're supposed to be doing if you're doing your work. And you're only doing what you're supposed to be doing if you're doing your work. You only can embrace what you're supposed to be doing if you're doing your work. That's the only way that it works. Or else you're going to be sitting there mad at motherfuckers for your entire life. Yo, these motherfuckers over here don't understand that, yo, man, that, yo, we the original people and we supposed to be taking over the fucking earth. What? You sound like the motherfuckers you mad at. That sound familiar? We supposed to be taking back the earth. We supposed to be preserving the earth. Why would I preserve the prison? By being a part of the prison. Every motherfucker that gets stuck down here, I know they gonna get stuck down here. I know why they gonna get stuck down here. I'm not gonna sit there and try to be like, yo, but you need to, nah. My job, my purpose is to build the steps. My job and my purpose, your job and your purpose is to build the steps. It's going to be their job to walk up to those steps and take those steps. I had to stop waiting for people. I really had to stop waiting for people. That one habit of me being stuck in this thought process of acceptance had me really sitting there waiting for people to actually catch up. The reflection of my relationships reflected that. I'm out of college, I'm out of school, but I'm dating a chick that's in her 5th year of school. In her 5th year of school, she says, "You know what? I want to major in psychology." After being around you and you explaining the way you explain things, I want to do psychology. My emotional ass was like, "All right, I'm here with you." My emotional ass spends $5,000 on tuition for her to do that by not accepting the pattern of her sitting there. She just went through 5 years of school, bruh. She went through 5 years of school and did not decide. Her mother and her father paid for those 5 years of school. You didn't even catch when she said her mother was like, "It's time to come back home." until you make a decision. We're not paying for your school. So you didn't even understand the manipulation of her manipulating your emotions and hitting you with the, I want to do psychology. And since you was in a position to pay for her tuition, you spent $5,000 on her tuition and she blew it. And then you got upset because y'all broke up. This is aspects for me. I failed in that I didn't learn my lesson. So I repeated it. And I repeated it in those different ways. I'm sitting there in my space like, yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I sat there and kept repeating that same method, trying to wait for other individuals to catch up. I stopped doing that shit. I stopped trying to make myself available to the ego because I was in reflection making myself available to my ego. A lot of times that's why you stay in that relationship so long, even though it's declined and it's done what it needed to do. It's because you're trying to be available to your ego. Yes. One second, I get a bottle of water. Let me read that one more time. All day, exactly what you like. That's how you need to move. That's the mindset. Like, you have to stop putting yourself in positions where you have to stop putting yourself in this position where you're trying to put energy into dead situations. The dead situation, we understand that death is the aspect of knowledge. Stop trying to put your knowledge into a situation that you've already transitioned from. Accept that space is over with and that you have to move forward. The only thing, there's nothing behind you, period. There's nothing behind you. Everything that is behind you everything that needs to be addressed that you are thinking is behind you is going to be in front of you. So you ain't got to worry about it. Move forward. I was watching a Charlie Murphy interview a long time from before I think it was like right before he transitioned. And he said every day that he woke up, he moved in the aspect of moving forward and creating an innovation, embracing aspects of innovation. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you got to move in that space of mindset because everything that's coming in front of you is that lesson plan. If you approach it based on this is good, if you approach it based on that win and lose mindset, that winning lose is right or wrong. That win or lose is going into the right or the wrong, is going into the good or bad, is going into that good or evil mentality, going right back into remember, we going up. This the ascension. Right or wrong, good or bad, win or lose, moral or immoral, traditional or untraditional, moral or immoral, You see how it comes back into the higher aspect of the morality, of understanding. Everything that you're doing into your space as you're moving forward is taking you, all of these older aspects are falling off as you become more centered into yourself, as you ground into yourself, rather. That's that key. That way, the next time you look at, for example, I'm letting y'all know this is what's about to happen. That Tiny and Tori, the Tiny and T.I. shit, they trafficking women and young girls and shit. That's gonna be the next platform. This is how you catch on, and you like, niggas gonna use that as their platform based on fear. That ain't me no more. This is how you monitor, and in your life, this is how you monitor yourself. It's like, use it as an example. I remember when in one of my relationships where me and my girl, we went through it, we fought a little bit. She went to her whole family. They didn't like me no more. She told them everything that we did. She told them everything that I did. When we got back together, and I had truly the apology and all this stuff, we were working on ourselves. The relationship with her family members was never the same. Even though she accepted me and we were moving forward, it was never the same. That one anchor stopped it. That one anchor, when I look at it from an unemotional aspect, it did what it was supposed to do. She did exactly what she was supposed to do based on where she was at within herself. When you're moving into your space, when you're coming into your higher aspects of yourself, everything that need to happen the way it need to happen. You ain't worried about shit no more. You're literally not worried about shit no more. Like, you're gonna really be in this space with yourself. Like, when you say what you say and it trickles down and it start breaking apart shit, and people start looking at you like you lost your mind, looking at you like you crazy and shit, it's doing what it's supposed to do. If one of your family members look at you and be like, yeah, they do meditation and they do shit like this, and they manifest and they working with their energy, that one family member that's gonna say they're worshiping the devil, and that one family member, that negative aspect that says, oh, they worshiping the devil, and it goes down to the other family members and it's spread between them, and then they're looking at you weird. That's what's supposed to happen. Don't look at it based on the emotional aspect of being like, but nah, they supposed to be my family and they supposed to be my fuck them. It's doing what it's supposed to do. You need that separation in your life. Yes, wait, let me read that. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not beneficial. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. That is the exact aspect. That's the exact aspect of that. If you're in your when you're in your authentic aspect of yourself, in the immoral compass of balance to yourself, what you're doing naturally, shadow work, manifestations, meditation, all of that shit, the way that you're doing it is immoral to the ones that are stuck within the traditional paradigm, because they're looking for an external aspect outside of them. You've taken it internally. So them individuals that's sitting there talking about, like, I go to church and I pay my tithes and that makes me get my manifestation for what it is. You've taken it internally to where they sit there and they go put their shit into a collection plate. The difference is, for you, you took it internally and you took them same dollars and you didn't written on your dollar bills and you burning your money on your altar. You're doing the same thing, but you've taken it to the internal aspect of aligning yourself to your own actual energy. That's the outside of the traditional aspect. You stepped outside of the fundamentals. You stepped outside of the fundamental aspect of what motherfuckers like to keep doing. You're in a different space. Remember I used that example of the aspect of in the ownership mentality? Yes, MacGyver, Neo, Superman, no obstacles, just opportunity. Everything's opportunity for you. So I take you to the aspect like this. I use this as the example. Like I use the example of like that LLC mentality. You take your LLC, you got your house, so you buy your car, and now you transmuting every year, you writing some shit off. You're gonna see people, cause we all gonna see the people on Facebook like, yo, I'm cutting off friends every year, I'm cutting off people every month because they against me. They ain't learned the lesson yet. You writing off people, you gonna be writing off as you're ascending, you're gonna be writing these people off. The value is gonna be in the lesson that you learned on writing that person off, writing that house, writing these conduits off. That's the release. This is the aspect of the release in reclaiming your energy. The conduits of what you created, how you benefited from the trauma. All of this shit, right? All of this is the aspect of you coming into your higher self. All of it. All of this is aspects of you coming into the higher transverse of yourself. You can't hold on to that shit. It cannot sustain at the higher altitude. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to embrace the best aspects of yourself. Start transmuting this energy. Transmutation of everything. Everything down here. You mad at the opportunist because you ain't embraced the aspects of being an opportunist. The opportunist simply transmutes through every situation. You looking at him, that nigga's an opportunist. He waits in every position to get what he wants. She waits for every position to get what the fuck she wants, using what she has. You afraid to do it. You ain't got the confidence to do it. It's okay though, because you gonna learn. This is your time of learning. This is your time to learn that shit. This is your time to embrace that shit. Like I just said, the chick, if you got that homegirl that makes a living, that makes her whole life living on sleeping with niggas to have a place to stay, learn how to transmute that energy. Because she's attached to all of these dudes, or the masculine aspect, or the knowing of what their urges are to get what she needs. So on your end, guess what you get to do? You know that the masculine aspect is the knowledge. So how are you using knowledge in the aspects of your life to apply, to transmute, to bring yourself into the benefit of yourself into your space? You got that nigga that you got your homeboy, and every day you see him with a different chick doing a different thing, giving him guidance, nurturing him in his space of giving him what they need based on their broken aspect. How do you bring yourself into the whole aspect of yourself? By saying, how do I use this guidance of the feminine aspect within myself to guide me to bring myself into becoming whole? Everything down here is permittable. Everything down here is knowledge. Everything down here is for you to learn from. Remove the emotional filter. When I removed the emotional filter, everything made sense to me. When I removed those emotional filters, everything made sense to me. When I started removing those old titles that I gave myself, everything made sense to me. When I got into that internal work on myself, all that shit started making sense. Everything was in line with where it needed to be in line with. Everything was doing exactly what it was supposed to be doing. I wasn't worried about shit no more. I don't worry about shit anymore. I don't stress about shit anymore. Everything's exactly where it need to be. All I got to do is show up. That's your major key. All you got to do is show up. If it trigger you, the triggers, learn the triggers. Learn the triggers. That's the response. The information is what you build upon those triggers. Become the trigger. That's the dark becoming the light. That's Satan, stand behind me. Satan, get behind me. You've embraced their shadow. That's why the devil ain't got no fucking shadow. Because the devil is the shadow. The devil is simply the shadow self. That's the aspects. That's the Damien or the demon or the intelligences. That's the intelligence that you have not embraced yet. I want you to be the fucking best. That's my desire, is you to exceed and become the fucking best. Only a few is gonna make it. Even fewer are gonna walk through the door. And even fewer are gonna build within that darkness with their light. Ask yourself that question. Which one are you? Are you the one sitting in the backseat to your shadow and your emotions? Are you sitting in the passenger seat to your emotions while your shadows are still in the back seat feeding you? Or are you sitting in the driver's seat in control? Are you sitting in the driver's seat intimately in the authenticity of the power of yourself? Which one are you? Full moon energy got me like fucking real wavy right now. Oh yeah, if y'all didn't do it, do it. Take Cicely Tyson's name, find the grab a numerology book, take Cicely Tyson's name, break that shit down in numerology, take her birth year, break that into numerology, turn that shit into a sigil. I got a sigil sitting over here on the fucking altar right now, that Cicely Tyson sigil that I created. Create Cicely Tyson sigil, get that energy back. Stop letting these motherfuckers stop letting the external aspects take your energy. Take your shit back. Take your shit back. Take your shit back. Yeah. As always, I want you to be the fucking best. Support the lesson. If it resonates, let the energy move you. Reciprocation. That donation is everybody that donates to the lessons. Great appreciation. Booking the service. Great appreciation. Listening to the podcast. Tuning in every Friday night. Tuning in for all the content. Getting that information and sharing that. I appreciate that. Much gratitude. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to be the best. I want you to grow to become the best. Only way to do that is stepping forward. Yeah. This has been another Friday Night Lectures. Share, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, share. Let the knowledge do what it's supposed to do. Invoke thought. Make niggas mad. Make them upset. Make them feel what they need to feel. Because that's the only way they're going to grow. Did I trigger you? I love you. We love us. Ashe.